Hey, what's up guys? So in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Cobra RAD 500G. This is Cobra's first radar detector with GPS lockouts. Since they have merged with Escort, they're taking advantage of some of Escort's technology now. And if you take a look at the top of the detector, you'll see there's a big orange button that says false. If you press that button when you're near an X-band or a K-band source, the detector can now manually lock out that signal. It doesn't have auto lockouts, but it does have manual lockouts, which is a first for a Cobra. Now, this detector retails for $199, which means we now have an option for a radar detector at $200 with GPS lockouts. Now, a number of you guys have asked me about this detector over the past few weeks and months, and I figured I'd just go ahead and do a quick video about it. Now, the 500G, it's the same thing as the RAD 450, except it adds GPS, hence the G in the name. A lot of manufacturers do the same detector, maybe without GPS at a lower price point, and with GPS to offer more features. The 450 without GPS retails for $149. The RAD 500G with GPS retails for $199. The GPS adds your GPS lockouts, as well as things like low speed muting and your red light camera and speed camera alerts. Now that said, for $200, is it worth it? Well, let's go ahead and start talking about performance, because that's always a big question mark with Cobras. Now, the Texas Countermeasure Testing Group has done a good amount of testing with the RAD 450. Same performance as the 500G, just without the GPS, right? So it'll be a good reference for the 500. Now, if we take a look here at 33.8 tests, first of all, we'll see the RAD 450, it's a bottom-of-the-barrel detector. But that said, we're competing against really high-end detectors. At the top end, you'll see the M3s, like the Redline and the Magnum. We've got the Max 360 and the V1. These are all very high-end detectors, and it makes sense that the RAD 450 would be performing worse than those, right? We've also got the LRD 950 and the DFR 6, which are also budget detectors, and they perform a little bit better than the RAD 450, but not on par with the higher-end detectors. If we look at 34.7 next, again, we'll see the high-end detectors are going to be at the top end with long-range performers. However, the LRD 950 and the DFR 6, they perform very well considering the fact that they're budget detectors. These are detectors that are known to be weaker on 33.8, but stronger on 34.7, and we can actually see that reflected in the results here. Now, the RAD 450, again, it's turning in bottom-of-the-barrel results. Here's another test that was done on 35.5, also Ka-band. You'll see that the RAD 450 actually performs worse than the Whistler CR93. Now, you can take a look at the results and say, okay, yeah, it may not have given me as much range as the higher-end detectors, but it still gave me 3/4 of a mile of range. I mean, the Whistler still gave me a mile of range. That's plenty for any sort of real-world situation, and it's true. In easier situations, you know, even the lesser detectors can still give you enough warning for a save. That's totally true. However, that was a test that was done in Texas where they have flat, open roads, so it's really easy. And that was also an on-axis test, meaning the signal was coming directly, into the front of the detector, not off-axis from an angle. When I tested my CR93, it performed pretty poorly here in the terrain that I have, with lots of trees and curves and things to make it more difficult to detect a radar signal. And given that the RAD 450 performs worse than the CR93, that's not good. Now, those that have run the detector have reported that the RAD 450 actually has tunnel vision, meaning it's designed to detect signals, pretty decently from straight ahead, but it kind of blocks out and rejects signals coming in at an angle. This can be useful for city streets if you're driving down the road and it's, ignoring some automatic door openers from shopping centers nearby. But because they're actually reducing the sensitivity off-axis, that's also going to be compromising your performance too. Personally, I prefer a detector that has strong on-axis and off-axis sensitivity and relies more on different filters to actually tell the difference between a legitimate and a false alert somehow, as opposed to just kind of neutering the performance of the detector to achieve that result, And that, I think, is going to be one of the biggest reasons of why I wouldn't necessarily recommend this detector. If you take a look at the budget Uniden detectors, they offer much better range in many situations. Not all, in 33.8 it was only a little bit better. On 34.7 it was pretty noticeably better, right? So in many situations you will get better performance. And with the DFR 7, it's actually not that much money over the RAD 500G. It used to retail for $300. It's since dropped to $250, and I shared in a video with you guys the other day of a 10% off discount that you can get, which drops it down to $225. So we're basically looking at a $25 increase to go from the RAD 500G to the DFR7. And for the extra 25 bucks, when we're talking about protection from hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in the speeding tickets, points to your license, insurance premium hikes, which can often be more than the speeding ticket itself, you know, that $25 is money well spent. And while I think it's pretty cool to see that, you know, Cobra now has a detector with GPS lockouts, the fact that the DFR7 exists and you can get it for $25 more means that there's really not a good reason to get the RAD 500G, which is why I personally haven't been that interested in the detector. I'm not saying the RAD 500G is a turd or anything. It's not a terrible detector, but just by comparison with the other options, I don't really see a good reason to get it. And so if you're running one, I guess it would be fine. You know, you're not going to be getting high-end performance for a little bit more money. You can get that, and I think that's a really good decision, you know? But that's kind of my take on why I haven't really been interested in the detector and why it's not something that really excites me, or I even feel like picking one up just to do some basic testing or anything. I'm just like, whatever, just get a DFR7 instead, you know? So anyways, for those of you guys that have been wondering, that's my take on the RAD 500G. Yeah, if you've got one, let me know your thoughts. You know, always curious to hear. And that's my take on things. So awesome. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next video.